already. And you have someone like Rand who comes along, and Rand talks about the privilege of selfishness and the advantages of the ego, and the philosophical community completely castigates her. They completely reject her. She's a joke. No one takes her seriously. Why does no... I don't have an ego. You think I'm doing this because I need a job? You think I'm doing this because I gotta fit in with a philosophical community? The community is ridiculous. If you're going to critique Rand, critique her text, critique the way that, you know, her formulation wasn't proper because she didn't really conceptualize this and da da da. But just because she says that she gives credence to those people who embrace self, who want wealth, who want more knowledge, who want power, who want control, and that's just categorically bad, and we're not going to participate in rational discourse. We're just going to appeal dogmatically to the fact that, no, we should be all egalitarian and all altruistic. When did philosophy do that? When was that ever acceptable in the discipline? It was never, and it should never, and it will never be acceptable. You're not a philosopher. If you take that stance, you're not a philosopher. You need to be stripped of the title. A philosopher is willing to listen, Hey, you know what, Rand, I don't quite accept what you're saying, but it isn't just the fact that I don't accept what you're saying. What you're saying is problematic because, one, you said this, two, you said that, and don't you see that those two things aren't... Participate in the discourse, rather than this sort of emotional response. Come on, man, we don't got time for that. I don't have time for that. I'm not that emotional type philosopher. I'm not knocking it, people do emotions. I don't. I'm a robot. I'm a systems. This is what you say. I don't accept it because, tighten up your argument. Not I don't accept it because it doesn't feel right, because it doesn't seem like it's good, because, you know, it supports, you know. No, come on, man, that's not philosophy. That's not philosophy, right? And people who wholesale reject without rational justification for their rejection aren't philosophers, right? They fawn, they act as though they are philosophers, right? They love the title, but you haven't earned it. Right? You don't just go around calling yourself a philosopher until you run up into a real philosopher and you get embarrassed. Okay, 1b. Values which inhere within the natural and affirm the natural. As I said, right? Construct whatever disciplines that it is that you're interested in. Me, I'm epistemology, but I'm also sort of liberation theory and I'm technically all 100% sociopolitical. That's what I wrote my dissertation on. That's what I studied. And I studied under, you know, shout out to Steve Turner. I studied under, you know, really, really good socio-political dudes, right? Edward Kissy, Martin Schoenfeld. I studied under some really heavy hitters. So that the idea is, for me, the things that I'm attracted to most are the collaboration between the social and political. And I know that really, really well. What I need to do is I need to make sure when I do my analysis, as Jason J. Campbell, it's Jason Campbell really, when I do my analysis always, and I approach my analysis always, that in this analysis I am not going to reject human sensuality. Not sexuality, sensuality. I'm not going to reject human sensuality. The desire to be greater, the desire to achieve excellence, the desire to amass more wealth, the desire to amass more power, more control. I am not going to reject that. I am not going to reject that. That is a state of affairs that exists, and my purpose in life is not to deny that state of affairs. My purpose in life is to make sense of that state. How is that state constructed? What are the mechanisms in which that state of affairs exists? And I'm going to prove that it exists, because after I've elaborated it, after I've articulated, you can reconstruct it based on my articulation. That's power. Period. That's power. That's what I do. Right? If you're into a different type of philosophy, you do your thing, right? Whatever it is that you're interested in, you do your thing. But the idea is, look, let's stop already. You know, how many hundred, how long is this? We're in the 21st century now, right? We're 2 centuries after Nietzsche, right? We're in the 21st century, and still there is, unfortunately, the need for me to have and present this lecture, because people are continually rejecting our sensual abilities. 2, the objective. The apparent world and the world invented by a lie, this is the antithesis. The latter has hitherto been called the real world, truth, God. That is what we have to abolish. This is your goal. This is your objective, right? The objective is a complete cessation of the rejection of this world. Right? That's what it's about. We are going to stop rejecting the body. We're going to stop rejecting valuation. We're going to stop rejecting valuation. It's easy to say that you ought not, you should not, add value to white skin over black skin. Let's keep it funky. It's a better state of affairs to recognize that that is done, and then construct a means in which we attempt to bring some balance where that valuation advantages, privileges others over some. Right? Let's really get the work done, rather than say, oh, you ought not to attribute valuation that benefits sort of normative whiteness. Shout out to Chioki. Right? So it's, no, it's not about that. It's not about that. It's about us recognizing that it's done, and when it occurs, when it surfaces, having mechanisms in place to bring balance to the system. Our job's never done. We work till we die. There is no sleep. Right? And there's also no sort of, oh, it ought not to be the case of rejection because all of us are equal. And I mean, that's all well and good, dude, but we've had a millennia or two of that. We need something new. It surfaces, there's a problem, let's fix it. This is how computer world works. Wow, viruses have been introduced into the mainframe. What is it? Oh, well, a contemplation on whether or not the virus should be there, right? Why is the virus here? I don't quite understand why it's here. Why do you think it's here? It's no, how did the virus get here? How do we prevent it from growing, from spreading? Let's construct a system that prevents it from growing and spreading when it pops up. Not why, right? That's what Nietzsche's saying. He's like, dude, come on, man. We're philosophers, man. I'm talking to philosophers. This is what we do, right? So, I get a little emotional about it because it's like, I don't really see it, and I read a lot. All I do is read. I read a lot of articles, I read a lot of books, and I'm like, nope. Okay, there's a little point there. Nope. And I can't, to this point in time, still make sense of why it's the case that everybody's, talking the same talk. I don't. My tone is definitely different. I try to stand outside, way outside of the norm on that regard. Opponent number 3, the exhausted and inherited who take revenge. The exhausted and disinherited who take revenge. The rejected, the outcast, right? The individual that can't conceptualize how. It's not an easy thing to do. Of course you would be envious. Of course you would be jealous. Of course you would want to reject. Oh, Jason's the systems guy. Oh, well, all he does is bring power to those who already have power. Isn't that convenient? You think the purpose that I do this is because I'm looking to try and placate someone? Or that I'm here to sort of be subservient? No. The system comes to me. The system comes to me when it needs power. Let's get it right. Let's get it right. And I know that sounds arrogant, and I don't apologize for it, right? Because the point is, no, I recognize that my purpose, this might not be your purpose, you might not want to be like Birdman and go for $1 billion, but I do want to construct those systems of power. If you don't like that, you construct a system against the one that I've constructed. And then I will continue to construct. Right? Rather than this sort of this rejection, right? Rather than, as Nietzsche says in 3, this attempt to take revenge. Right? For me personally, there is more meaning, there is more significance, for me personally, in philosophical analyses that recognize and acknowledge distinctions in valuation, and try to construct countermeasures to imbalances in pre-existing systems, rather than try and sort of wholesale, sort of whimsically, in this really sort of generic utopist standpoint, say it should all be fair. How easy an analysis is that? How conveniently simple? How simple an analysis is it to say, oh yeah, we all should be fair. It should be justice for all. I mean, come on, you seriously really spent your time writing a text that just says, and the culmination is justice for all? I mean, that's really trite. That's really trite, right? It's easy to do that. It's a lot more difficult to say, no, this is how you go about getting justice.